5-minute
I just
episode.
keep talking.
Welcome back. We're going to discuss another hot topic here on
Internet anonymity.
internet anomalies. Daddy, boss. So anyway, what
Daddy, boss.
what about internet anonymity?
Anonymity.
And-
Fuck, I
and-
can't say it anymore.
anonymity.
You screwed me up.
Anonymity.
See it? Anonymity.
Anonymity.
Fish are friends, not food.
Fish are friends, not food. Yes, yeah.
Yeah. Alright. The topic of staying anonymous on the internet. You know, we have these things called Tor browser. The Tor browser, VPNs, what are those? Virtual proxy networks? I think they're... I'd have to do more research. But you have all these things that people consider bad and, like, are things that, you know, Tor lets you access the dark web and technically, you know, deep web and things like this. As the most forms of media has imposed that it is, you know, an atrocious place. Crime happens there all the time. You know, it's a filth trap. You know, yada yada yada. You can go search it up if you really want to. It is very biased, basically. You have all these things, and the basic explanation of it is the internet is one big, you know, group of Legos, let's say.
Yeah.
The internet that you can access, you know, the surface internet, that you can access with things like Bing, Google, you know, these easy-to-access web browsers and all these things that we've been given tools to, is, you know, about, like, 4% of the Lego blocks,
Yeah.
right? And that's the stuff we can access, use. Everybody has quote-unquote free access for the most part of these things.
Yeah.
And it's pretty easy to get. The deep web is about, like, 90, like, I don't know, 95% of the internet.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fucking massive. But basically what it is, you know, all the Lego bricks that certain people have access to. You know, a company has a lot of files and information about,
Yeah.
you know, Excel spreadsheets for, you know, their business or something. You know, they have access to them, and it's on the deep web. All still part of the same Lego pit of the internet, but only certain people can access them. You can, you know, there's ways to access them, but it takes a lot of effort. And what the deep web is still the same kind of style as the surface internet that we have complete access to.
Yeah.
But, oh, rip. We still have complete access to, but it's more anonymous to the point where only certain people have access to it. It's like, you don't... I guess the best way to put it is like, on the surface web, you can say something and everybody has access to it.
Uh-huh.
Everybody has also access to, you know, the information, everything there. Whereas on the deep web, on the dark web, they only have access to the things you want them to have access to, kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know, obviously there's where to break these things constantly, and I might not be 100% about this. But basically the concept is we have this bin of Legos. 4% is the stuff everybody can have access to. 1% is the stuff that is only what certain people want you to have access to.
Yeah.
You know, not much, but it's still there. And then the deep web, which is, you know, pretty much the rest of the bin, which is a lot already, which is, you know, each person has their own kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So that's what it is. It's all part of the same one. You're not, quote-unquote, accessing different internets. There's none of that. It's all still same part of the internet. It took some people I know a very long time to figure that one out. But the gist of it is because of this stuff like the dark web and things like that, you know, using Tor and VPNs, you can stay anonymous on the network. Now, people are like, well, but there's criminal activity and all these Silk Road and things like this on the deep and dark web, and you're right?
Yeah.
But no more than it is on the regular web net. You know, most of the, you know, creepy stuff you find on the deep dark web are scams.
Yeah.
They're scams. You know, there has been no actual confirmed hitman stuff going on in the deep dark web
Yeah.
that has been, successfully carried out. It's
Yeah.
been probably most of them scams. You can be like, well, they sell guns there. I can go to Walmart.
Yeah, you can buy guns anywhere.
You can buy guns anywhere. Drugs.
You can buy drugs anywhere.
You could buy drugs anywhere. I mean, hell, we're in Colorado.
Yeah.
Marijuana is everywhere. So it's all these things. It's not that different.
Yeah.
But it's just you don't know who you're buying from. Whereas if you're using like Amazon and things like that, you know who you're buying from.
Yeah.
For the most part.
Yeah.
And so because of this, it's no more. People are like, well, there's all this horrible pornography on the dark deep web. Sure there is, but I'm sure you could spend enough time and you'd eventually find it on the regular web.
Yeah.
So as the media portrays it, it's kind of incorrect.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a different style, And the whole point of this internet is to hide yourself anonymously.
Yeah.
Whether it's a good idea or not, that's not for me to decide. That's up to you, I guess. But the main sites for each is, if we live in let me back up. As recently as we all know, Snowden and WikiLeaks came out recently with a lot of information and things that basically explain to us, hey, our governments are spying on us.
Yeah.
And there's not much denying that, right? Some people are put on watch lists, no-fly lists, all these jazz. It happens all the time. I lived in Asia for a while, and you basically knew that they were watching you,
Yeah.
right? That wasn't a surprise, because that's just what governments do. It's, easier and more liberating and safe to understand what your people are thinking, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of like, when you have the comical king sitting in his chair. My subjects, what do they think of me? They tolerate you, sire. Good enough, kind of thing.
Yeah.
You always want to know what they think of you. It's like when you have people who react to live tweets of themselves. When you have people reacting to live tweets, you see how their opinions shift and change, so they keep popularity. And this is kind of the same thing with the government. Obviously, if the population's really upset, the government's going to change to do something. They're not that dumb.
Yeah.
But they also know the certain points to keep the people. And because of all this, we are obviously all monitored to a certain degree. Some of us maybe like, we've got nothing to hide. You're right. Yeah, sure. But even if you've got nothing to hide, that doesn't mean somebody can misconstrue what you've got nothing to hide.
Yeah.
You could travel to Islamic states as, either a trip or, refugee, whatever it may be. And somebody can construe that as, hey, this guy is, a possible terrorist because he's been in this place. It's not that extreme. That happens often, The point is, people have access to your information.
Yeah.
And the only thing that I can basically compare this to is if you look at, I think it's an ancient Mesopotamian court. I'm not too sure about this one. But the gist of it is, if you're under surveillance, you're already in prison.
Yeah.
So a very, an easy way to look at this is, in the prisons, you had these tower posts, right? Guards would sit on top and they'd watch you guys. They didn't really give two shits what you guys did.
Yeah.
So long as it wasn't disruptive. And so long as it was in line with the rules that they've set there. Now, that's a very similar state to what we're in. We're all in the middle, using the internet, aka the prison.
Yeah.
And we have all these people watching us. Is it that extreme? Not really. But it is in some countries. And in some countries, you just do what, you look up, you research, say you're a gay rights activist in Uganda, and you search up something, they could find you and kill you.
Yeah.
You're dead.
Yeah.
And that's kind of terrifying. Will the U.S. ever get like that? I don't know. I don't claim to know the future. But it's better to be safe than sorry. And you have all these people who are like, well, the public watching, are, watching the public's good because it keeps all these terrorists, at bay and all these things.
Yeah.
While I think that has some merit to a certain degree, not the whole it will keep terrorists out, but just knowing you're being watched is enough to deter some people.
Yeah.
But the whole fact that it will not deter any kind of, terrorist kind of attack, because code languages, cryptography, all these things exist specifically to avoid being detected.
Yeah.
Even if you're just watching, you could have a string of code that could take you years to figure out, and it could be simply as grocery lists.
Mhm.
It doesn't prevent the kind of terrorism that you think. And so, should we be monitored? I don't know. There's merits, as I've said, to both. People say, since we're being surveyed, we're in prison. We have right to security and privacy. It's like having your windows forced to be open.
Yeah.
You're not allowed to have your curtains closed. You have to have them open. So they can always see what's happening inside your house for the most part.
Yeah.
Now, is that allowed? Is that enforced? No, because it's not, ethical
Yeah.
in terms of the human rights. You have your privacy, and you're in your house. You're free to do what you want, No, nobody wants to see that nasty shit of you masturbating to some My Little Pony porn. Nobody wants to see that, right?
Yeah.
So close your curtains. But if you're forced to keep them open, one, you probably won't do that,
Yeah.
right? And it's all these things that you look at and you'd be like, well, we have all these things watching us, so it does deter people.
Yeah.
And I think that's the strongest merit that the argument has of keeping the surveillance in, that it deters people. People thinking about doing something dumb tomorrow and they post about it or something like that, it will be found, you will probably be stopped.
Yeah.
But, if you really, really wanted to pull something off, no terrorist of threat will be posting his shit on the social media.
Yeah.
So, why do we have the surveillance? People ask. It's keeping us in some kind of prison.
Yeah.
But that's debatable. I don't claim to, have a side. I personally lean a little bit towards more being more lax on control.
Yeah.
But I also do agree with some of the control that it has. It's a complicated position for me, especially because I've lived in very controllative states and in the U.S. as well. Mm-hmm. So, it then leans on, what are human rights, what's ethical, and that's not a conversation I like getting into at all. So that'll be left for later. But you get the point. You have all these ways that people are watching you. There's no doubting it. But there are still ways to remain anonymous. You can, you can't anonymously go on Facebook. It's against their terms of agreement.
Yeah.
You can't use Tor and get on their thing because they need to know where you are as part of their requirements in their user user agreement. But whereas things like Twitter and Google, I'm pretty sure, don't require you to be anonymous.
Mm-hmm.
Non-anonymous.
Yeah.
So you can technically anonymously from anywhere in the world post stuff up.
Yeah.
But the whole concept of staying anonymous to post things, there was I don't know how recently this is for most people, but there was a video put up, and it was pretty fucking atrocious. But what it was this video of this man filming this family, which was a husband and a wife, and the husband accused this woman of murdering her 7-year-old daughter.
Yeah.
Obviously the woman did not do it, and she was like, "What the fuck?" kind of thing.
Yeah.
What? Why would I do that kind of thing? But, the man wasn't having it. The husband dragged her out to the street, told the police, and the police shot her. Decapitated her, beheaded her. Obviously this is in an Islamic state.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was in Saudi Arabia specifically. And this was uploaded anonymously. Using, I think, the Tor browser. They uploaded it to one of the backdrops that the news sites have.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, is on most news sites.
Yeah.
There's a backdrop you can use Tor to reach I think it's an Onion site.
Yeah.
You can reach it and you can drop anonymously. And so this is how it got to the United States. And I can tell you right now, if he had uploaded it from using like Google Chrome on a regular computer,
Yeah.
he would be dead right now.
Yeah.
Or worse, it'd be pretty bad because you could figure it out.
Yeah.
So there are reasons for it, especially in underdeveloped countries. In the United States, it's a bit, it's a touchy subject, obviously, because we live in a state where there is a controllative government, there is controllative corporations. The finance, you need to be on the grid. That's why Bitcoins aren't legal in the U.S., I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly. Bitcoins aren't legal in the U.S., that's why you have to use a Tor if you're going to use Bitcoins.
Yeah.
So, if you usurp all these, you're going to get in trouble with the law.
Yeah.
Whether or not you're actually breaking any laws doing it, you're going to get in trouble because it's hiding from, our figures of power. Which is and isn't a bad thing, it depends. But recently, the guy who did the Silk Road, fun fact, he did it as an experiment, and he actually didn't really do anything with it, but he's been charged with drug trafficking, the Kinping charge, and a few others. So he's sentenced to life to prison.
Wow.
For making a site.
Mm-hmm.
And people will be like, well, yeah, he did all that. No, he actually had no control over the site, technically.
Yeah.
What he built was a marketplace.
Yeah.
What people sold was up to them. It's like, as I tried to explain to someone, it's like, if I owned a plot of land,
Yeah.
and people were selling crack and cocaine on my land,
Yeah.
without my knowledge, is it my fault?
Uh-huh. No, it's
It's not my fault. It's like when people have black market deals on your land. It's not your fault. You're innocent.
Yeah.
Some people, could twist the words to, what is it? Harboring malicious intent in your land or something.
Yeah.
There's a thing you could spin for some bullshit, but still, it's not worth a life sentence, right?
Uh-huh.
So why did this man get life sentences? As I've said before, because he usurped and he did everything behind the back of the government, companies, and global market.
Uh-huh.
Some people might call me bullshit. You're obviously full of shit. Yada yada. You do whatever you want. I'm just saying what I've been exposed to, what I've researched, and these things like that. Before you flame me up and you do these things, please do your research. Please look into these things. It's important. Be a thinker, as I've discussed in the last episode.
Yeah.
Think for yourself. Don't just bandwagon. If you get offended, take a step back, go on a walk, do something, listen to some music, come back, and be like, all right, this is his point on the subject. Hopefully I'm not offending anybody by saying this. But, you come back, you state your opinion on the subject, and you argued your point.
Yeah.
And so when you do that, you eventually get to the point where you're like, this is my research, this is what I've concluded from my research, this is why I don't exactly agree with you, this is your point, this is why your point it draws short of your actual conclusion, and this is why my point is stronger.
Yeah.
That's one way you can do it, and there's multiple other ways. But just being like, you're wrong, fuckface, dickhead, and all this, and spewing random facts that don't really have any cohesion together, it's a logical fallacy. And on top of that,
Yeah.
it won't, it's just like listening to somebody, go on and on, yell, do nothing.
Yeah.
It's like, it's kind of embarrassing, and, yeah. So, just to wrap it all up for that brief segment, brief, but the concept is try to maintain some kind of anonymity. Fuck me.
Anonymity.
There we go. Because you never know when you'll need it.
Yeah.
You have the complete privacy to be able to research almost anything you want.
Mm-hmm.
You shouldn't be persecuted for researching up gay rights. You shouldn't be, put possibly to death for researching some of the things.
Yeah.
You shouldn't be in a situation where if you told somebody about your situation, you'd be killed.
Yeah.
That is not okay. That is not human rights. There's other things that go into it, but as we've kind of discussed, but you should not feel threatened by gaining information.
Uh-huh.
And if you are, you need to search alternatives. And so, why is this important? Why is the internet anonymity? In the U.S., not so much. We're going to be watched regardless. Criminals will be criminals. There's nothing you can do there. Philanthropists will be philanthropists. There's all these things going on. It's just better to be informed than not. So,
Yeah.
that's my spiel on internet anonymity. Pardon me, I'm done.
And we'll fight these. Actually, no. We'll probably finish this fight first. Actually, no. I can sync up on this. We'll be back. Love you.
Thank you.
Bye.